Well, I'm happy you could join us again today as we go through Psalm 55. We started yesterday by looking at this psalm of sadness or lament. David is struggling with life. There's issues before him. Those issues on an external basis have led him to despair. The external issues are real. There's people trying to harm him. They're actively talking against him, perhaps moving in some way to bring about physical or political harm to him. He has allowed that external problem, these situations, to lead him into a situation of internal anxiety and despair. And we've seen that in verses 4 and 5. His heart is in anguish, he says. And that goes back partly to the fact that he's not sure God is paying attention, that God even cares in verse 1. But now we begin to look at a solution. How is David going to unravel this? How does he deal with these internal anxieties brought about by true conditions in his life? Well, he starts off with a solution that is not recommended, but it's the one that we sometimes take, and David wants to take, and that is to run away. He wants to flee. In verses 6 through 8, we read this: I said, "Oh, that I had wings like a dove, I would fly away and be at rest. Behold, I would wander far away, I would lodge in the wilderness, I would hasten to my place of refuge from the stormy wind and tempest." This is a common thing, I believe, in the lives of many of us. We want to just run away. If we had a place in the wilderness somewhere, or out in the woods, or on the beach, or someplace we could just get away from life, get away from our problems, get away from people that cause us difficulty, we would just run away. And I think multitudes of people have done that, either on a long-term physical basis or just in the way they live their life, and escapism in various pursuits of entertainment or whatever they're going after. And so there is this escape mechanism. You recall Thomas Kincaid, the artist or the painter of light. He had all these beautiful paintings that he did of, and he admitted that he was painting these paintings as if the fall had never happened, as if sin had never corrupted the human race. And so his pictures were idyllic. There were beautiful scenes of cabins by the woods or by a lake, or just beautiful. And yet Thomas Kincaid himself could not escape his own self. He died of alcoholic and a drug overdose, of anxiety pills and alcohol. He himself struggled deeply with anxiety. Running away, even in his paintings, didn't solve the problem. And it doesn't solve the problem for you and I either. Running away is not God's solution. So what is? Well, we press on, and we find that he now turns to prayer. God's solution is turning to him, and we turn to him most perfectly in prayer. And we say in verse 9, "Confuse, O Lord, divide their tongues, for I have seen violence and strife in the city. Day and night they go around her upon her walls, and iniquity and mischief are in their midst. Destruction is in their midst. Oppression and deceit do not depart from their streets." So he is seeing a problem here. Everywhere he looks, he sees disaster. And he sees it in general, but he also sees it in a very specific way in the betrayal of a friend. In verse 12, "For it is not an enemy who reproaches me, then I could bear it. Nor is it one who hates me, who has exalted himself against me, then I would hide myself from him. But it is you, a man, my equal, my companion, my familiar friend. We had sweet fellowship together, walked in the house of God in the throng." Here is David lamenting the fact that he's been betrayed by a friend. This points also to the direction, I believe, of Judas betraying our Savior as well. But David has a friend here. We don't know who it is. He's not identified, but he has betrayed David, and this has greatly hurt him. So he looks around him and he sees disaster, he sees betrayal. So what is he going to do about that? Well, we find next that he turns to the Lord in prayer. In verse 16, it says this: "As for me, I shall call upon God, and the Lord will save me. Even in morning and at noon I will complain and murmur." David said, okay, here's my complaint. Here's my concern. I am struggling with the issues around me. I'm struggling with the betrayal of a friend. What will I do? Well, as for me, he says, I will call upon the Lord, and he will save me. What a picture of the right solution to our anxieties. The wrong solution is to run away. The wrong solution is to be overwhelmed by the difficulties and disasters and whatever else has come our way, even the hurt of a good friend or a loved one. The proper solution is to turn to the Lord and recognize that he will save us. Now, David is going to follow up on that in the rest of the psalm, so I hope you can join us tomorrow to see where it goes.